notes and my coffee. Your happiness, your health. No one is worth that, especially not someone who makes you feel like crap. So. So I didn't nail a intro to this, but here's a video on how to end a toxic relationship effectively. Oh well. So, step 1, jumping right into it. Write a list. I want you to write a list of everyone that you consider to be toxic in your life right now. Whoever comes to mind, write down their names. Now, you might be wondering how I define toxicity or someone who's toxic. Generally, if they are interfering with these 3 categories of your life, they have got to go. First one is your relationship with God. Nothing is more important. Nobody is more important. And anybody that's coming in between you and him and interfering with that should be considered toxic and should be removed. Your career or your calling. So the thing that you were birthed to do, the thing that is literally where you're going in life, your dreams, your aspirations, your destiny, the gifts that God has given you, how you're going to be using them. If this person comes into your life and makes it so that you don't feel like using them, or you're just distracted and not as focused and motivated, then they're not adding value to your life and they probably are toxic. You may want to write them down and consider it, and they gotta go. And the third one is your health. A lot of times we find ourselves in situations where we're constantly stressed and our health is responding, and this could be in the form of high blood pressure, anxiety, mental health, physical abuse, anything that is inhibiting your health and your trajectory of life. You can definitely consider that a toxic relationship, and you may need to be considering how you're going to adjust to that. So write down a list of anyone who is hindering you in those 3 categories. That is how I define toxicity. Maybe you define it in some other way. Maybe textbooks define it in another way. But in my experience, the type of toxic relationships that I'm talking about today are any ones that interfere with those 3 very, very important pieces of your life. So write down that list, and then after you've written the list, I just want you to kind of move that to the side, and I want you to do just a vision exercise. And you don't have to do it right now. You can do it after you've watched the video and learn the other 3 steps. But just spend a few moments thinking about where you want to be 5 years from now, that dream life, doing the things that you want to do. And just take a moment and picture yourself there. And then I want you to ask yourself, is anyone on that list there with you? And if they are, let's say because they're family, how much did they impact or hinder you from getting to where you were? And what role are they playing in your life at that point in your life? So just take a moment and do that exercise. Give yourself maybe 30 to 45 seconds to picture it. If you want to go longer. Feel whatever emotions that you're feeling. Pay attention to the air, what you smell, what you feel, like really embody that. And that'll make it easier for you to decide if the people that you're writing down on this list are actually toxic, depending on how you physically, respond in that vision exercise. So really go into it. I do it a lot with my clients, with myself, so that I can really connect to the change that I want to see. And I think that's really important with the process of letting go, is really owning it and admitting and accepting that this person does not belong in my life. This person isn't where I see myself going. And so for that reason, I might have to cut them off so that I can get there. So after you've written that list and you've kind of made that decision, then you're going to move on to step number 2. Okay, step number 2. Now you're going to send a text. You're going to send one of 2 texts. One is to the category of people who you don't think it requires a face-to-face conversation, so you're just going to let them know by text. And the other is for those who it does require a one-to-one conversation. And you'll know because typically the ones that don't require text are relationships or friendships that haven't lasted very long, so 3 months or less. There isn't a whole lot of investment there, and you know that you potentially wouldn't see them again if you didn't like make the effort. So that's that category. And then the other category is anyone who falls in the opposite. So you've known them for long, you've been with them, if it's romantic, longer than 3 months, and you know that you have the potential of seeing them. Maybe they're a roommate, a family member, someone that you go to church with, school with, or a live-in partner, whatever. If you know that it warrants a face-to-face conversation, they're important enough, you've been intimate enough, and anything else will be awkward and inappropriate, and you know you have to see them on a regular basis, and it's probably going to lead to a text conflict if you do text them, so you need to meet up in person with them, then they go into that batch over there. So those are the categories. And the first text message should follow the steps in step number 3. So just skip there if you only have people that you're sending text messages to. And then if you fall into the other category, you need to set up a face-to-face, then simply text them just that, like, hey, when are you available for us to link up? Whatever your usual language tone is, you don't want to catch them off guard or make them feel uncomfortable, make them feel like they have to come with their guard up, because that can alter how the conversation goes in person. So just be yourself, make it casual. Don't ring the alarm or make them feel any type of way. And this isn't to set them up, it's just to allow for as much authenticity to take place as possible, because you're going to show up authentic in this conversation, and you want them to as well, without the guards or the fear and the things that come from fear. So once you have sent your text, move on to number 3. So once you decided that you are there and they have got to go and you're confident and you can have this conversation, then you're going to send your text. So for those that are meeting up in person, you can send your text saying, hey, let's meet up. And for those that are sending the message in the text message, then let's move on to number 3 is the conversation that you're going to send by text, which hopefully isn't too much of a conversation. It will encompass all that you need. If they have dialogue for you in return, then I have a little bit of coaching for you at the end of this video on how to navigate that decision depending on which way it goes in. But if they are someone who falls in the category of a text message, then typically they also fall in the category of somebody who you can easily block, because you don't have a need to be in contact with that person any further. In some cases, this will be a family member. You can feel like a person that is blood is toxic enough that they do deserve to be blocked. I've been there before. The block is easy, because if in fact you do decide to reconcile, you can unblock. It's not the end of the world. But for some people it needs to be. So use the block button if you need to after sending this message. Because they lost you. All right. So the context of the conversation should go like this. Start with a thank you. No matter what the experience was, it was purposeful and that it helped you become the person that you are, whether it's more enlightened, more aware of your needs, more in control of your boundaries. You've grown from it. So thank them for whatever it is that you gained from the relationship, because ultimately all things work for our good. So there has to be something, and the best way to part ways in a way that is whole is to offer gratitude to whatever it was that took place. So then after you've thanked them, then you're gonna move to number 2, which is get to the point. So a lot of times we will dance around the subject because we're uncomfortable, we're afraid of the reaction, but we're only making it more awkward the more that we don't get to the point. So it's so important that once you've thanked them, you get right to the point, and you can get to all the other stuff. Why? A lot of times we lead with the why, and then we confuse them or give them reason to refute, and you've made your decision, so start with your decision to make that very clear. So get to the point, and then you're going to go into the why. Now, when it comes to the why, you cannot make it about them. We don't want to get into an accusatory tone, because that's only going to cause argument. It's going to unleash both of you guys' insecurities. And next thing you know, you're not having a productive conversation. insecurities and egos and all the things that kind of come up when someone feels attacked. And we don't want to go into this with an attack. So you want to avoid using the word you as much as possible. Focus on yourself, the I, as many I statements as you can. So I was hurt when this happened. I felt this way. That made me feel this way. Use that type of language when you're explaining why you make the decision that you are making, so that you are taking ownership, but also just having the healthiest approach to the conversation.
What you do.
So you're going to use as many I statements so that you can approach the conversation in the healthiest way. And then finally, you're going to wish them well. So what do you wish for them? What do you want to come of this conversation? If it's for them to find the person that they're hoping to find, maybe it's just wishing them well on their journey, wherever that is, whatever it is, as personal or as general as you want it to be. Just wish them well so that you can end the conversation amicably and the relationship amicably. So those are the 4 pieces of content that you want to have in your conversation so that you know it's a healthy one and a final one. And then the final step is number 4, close the door. So it's so important that when we make the decision, we commit to it. Toxic relationships only continue and linger the harder it is for us to be direct. So it's so important that you are direct in your final in this decision. So you have to close the door. And sometimes that means blocking them, which I talked about a little bit earlier in the video. Block them if you feel like it's necessary, if you don't want to continue to hear the hurtful things they have to say, or you just want to limit their access to you. Put them on block. The block button is your friend, whether that's all across social media, on the pay apps, whatever avenues they can use to continue to be a distraction or continue to interfere with you and the places that you're going. You have to do that. And then obviously on your phone, email as well, whatever you need to do to block them. We can do a whole other video on how to replace them so that you're not feeling completely void, what to fill yourself with, what type of people to have around you to hold you accountable and to love you during that phase. But do what you need to do to completely limit the contact. Now, if it is somebody that you are going to be seeing on a regular basis, it's okay to not block them, but you have to take some other measures to make sure that you internally are able to really commit to your decision. And so I advise maybe when you get home or whenever you just feel calm and settled and safe, to just sit with the pain of the loss. Because truth is, no matter how long or short the relationship was, like, you're losing something. You're losing a relationship. You're losing something that was a part of your life. And so it's okay for you to grieve. And it's so important that you feel those feelings when you're grieving. And I like to add some type of symbolic practice to make it something that you can connect to. So when you're shutting the door, like, you could actually envision yourself walking out of the room and shutting the door and feel those feelings and allow yourself to really get into that pain and process that pain and connect with this this act, that you're going to be able to hold on to your commitment easier. So envision yourself leaving and shutting the door. Maybe they're walking out and you shut the door behind them, but in some way, metaphorically, in your mind, heart, and spirit, shut that door and sit with that, so that you can have the reminder when that text message comes in, or you decide that you want to kind of, reach out to them and you're, feeling weak or whatever it is. You can remind yourself of that metaphor that you've shut the door. So it's so important that you take these steps in order to kind of make that conversation final. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what might happen if, let's say, you have the conversation or you send the text and they come a whole different person and they respond in a way that is kind of warm and like makes you want to reconsider. So first thing that you want to remember is that people show up to interviews. People perform in interviews all the time. So you want to make sure it's not a performance just to keep you in limbo, keep you in this toxic cycle. You are the CEO of your life, and you should hire, promote, and fire accordingly. So if someone is showing you that they don't play the role well in your life, then they need to take on a lesser role and work their way back up to that. to show you and to prove to you that they deserve you. They're going to be willing to do what it takes to regain that status in your life if they are supposed to fill it. And it can't just be based off of how they came to the interview, really, the conversation. It has to be based on you seeing a change in their actions. Because I know how hard it is to get out of these situations. I know that you want to give chances. I know that you understand their background, their history, their traumas, and all the different things that make them who they are, which makes it okay, but it's not. It's not okay for you to be hindered in the work that you're doing to get to where you're going. It's not okay for you to forfeit destiny and your calling for anyone in this world. The thing that God puts you on this world to do. Your happiness, your health. No one is worth that, especially not someone who makes you feel like crap. So don't be fooled by the interview. Make them work if you decide to give another chance. But when you know that it's time, you will know and you will be ready and you will do what it takes to end it and walk away and never, ever look back. And even that process is hard. All of it is just taking it one day at a time, one breath at a time, one moment at a time. And you gotta heal. So I'm with you. I get it. So take your time. Do it when it's right. Hopefully these things helped you. If you want to give it a shot and let me know, drop me a comment, subscribe, like this video, hit me in my email inbox. I'll put that down below as well. Let me know how it went for you, however you want to stay in touch and help us all grow together. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you want to stay in touch and keep up with my content, hit the like and the subscribe button. All right, y'all, take care. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.